things in the EV market in Europe are about to change dramatically. Hello everyone and welcome back to the China EV Show. I'm your host Toby, and before we start, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. Now let's get into today's topic, which is talking about BYD announcing plans to open a passenger vehicle factory in Hungary in Europe. This is massive. Because of this, it stands to be the first Chinese automaker to open a factory in Europe. I don't want to get to the politics of this, so let's just say the first China-born EV brand to open a factory in Europe. So let's talk about the EV situation in Europe quite quickly, which is that nearly half of the new vehicle registrations in the year to date were electrified. Of course, this includes plug-in hybrids, which seem to be doing quite well. It's a kind of transitionary technology, I guess, for people who aren't really sure about going pure electric, but it's nice that people prefer to go for this over ICE cars anyway. It's a step in the right direction, if not the whole way there. And the pure electric cars saw an increase in 50% in the year to date, which of course is progress, it's good, it's an increase, but it's a little bit slow. What do you think the EU could do to kind of increase the speed of adoption of EVs wherever you are? Well, we actually already might have the answer, because BYD decided to open their factory in Europe, and this stands to shake up competition massively. Currently, over 25% of EVs sold, pure EVs sold in Europe, are from one brand, Tesla, which goes to show, I'm not taking anything away from Tesla's cars, they're great, but goes to show the lack of competition, the lack of competitive products that are offered in Europe to European consumers. Bringing BYD in, okay, they already launched in Europe, but right now their cars are kind of like on the high end, and they're also not very well known, perhaps because they're still built in China. There's not a lot of trust with consumers. This factory in Europe stands to change all of that. So now these cars will be built on Europeans' front door with European resources, perhaps with European labor. I can't say about that right now. And of course, there'll be some cost savings for consumers too, to make their brand, to make the products even more competitive, to flood the market with even more choices for consumers at a great price. Tesla, of course, only has 4 models. They didn't release a model since 2020. So if we look at the top 5 selling EVs in China for the month of November, 1 is a Tesla, 3 are BYDs. However, the top selling one is Tesla Model Y, so I doubt they care about this very much, but it's something to consider, this kind of product diversification. Or is it a strength of Tesla to have only these 4 products, core products, that they can focus on, they can update, they can continually refresh and improve like they do, to make them even more suitable for whatever market they're in. Now let's talk about BYD in Europe, doing a little bit less well, although their sales increased by 500% last month. This doesn't really mean a lot. Of course, it's nice to be moving in the right direction, but they weren't really selling very many cars in the first place. So now they're just selling 500% more than almost nothing. But of course, it's progress is progress. I think as more people buy the cars, experience the cars, word of mouth gets out, we can see this figure increase exponentially. And of course, if the factory is built and the cost reductions come and trust is built with European consumers, this will of course just skyrocket, I think, in the future. And right now, BYD is number 38 among EV brands in Europe. Do you think BYD can get into the top 5 in the next 5 years? I do. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think one thing that needs to be considered right now is that BYD's cars are essentially made for the China market and then exported. You know, a lot of them have names like Han and Tang. Of course, we have Dolphin and Seal, which were which were actually their names here, but they're a kind of more of a global name. But I think for a lot of consumers, it's a little bit of a strange naming choice. But they wouldn't be the first Chinese brand to have weird named cars. But anyway, I think they're built for the Chinese market because, of course, they sell over 90%. They sell the vast majority of their cars here, and then they're kind of exported to Europe, kind of after the fact. And I think the habits of European consumers and Chinese consumers are very different, especially in terms of EVs. Chinese consumers expect a lot more. And I think European consumers are catching up, and they're continually demanding more from their EV purchases. I think one of the reasons why Tesla is the best-selling EV brand around the world is that its cars are built for the world. They're kind of very nicely designed, very unoffensive to any culture or whatever, and they kind of get people on a global basis what people need. And I think we can see that BYD may release more global models, models that are built for the world, or even designed for Europe primarily. Regardless, China right now has a very competitive EV scene, and all it means is that the consumer benefits. We had price wars, we had everyone slashing their prices. Right now, the consumer in China who wants to buy an EV is absolutely spoilt for choice. with loads of options, different price range, different vehicle shapes, different offerings. And I think BYD coming to Europe stands to begin this kind of similar kind of competitive market situation. I don't think it'll be long before brands like NIO and XPeng also commit to building factories in Europe. But of course, we will see BYD and how they do first. BYD actually have a lot of factories already around the world. They have them in Brazil, in India, in America, also for their commercial vehicle units. They already have one in Hungary. So they are very well placed to kind of roll out their cars to the world. But for now, it seems the next EV battleground will be Europe, as all these brands try to win the biggest market share. For 2023, Tesla will be the best-selling EV brand in Europe. What about next year? Let us know what you think. Will it be Tesla? Will it be BYD? Or will it be another brand? Make sure you leave your comments below. I've been Toby, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the China EV Show.